Hey everybody, welcome to your car's crash course for cleaning up your hip car. This segment is focused on the abduction portion of your car. Again, if you don't know why you have to spend time cleaning up your cars, be sure to check out those videos where I placed a link somewhere, either depending on when you watch this, either below or in the action cards. So today we are looking at the abduction. Now, again, there's a lot of pelvic stuff that can come into play, and there's a lot of lower leg that come into play. So this one, again, we're gonna try to hit both again. What we're gonna do is, again, using our doorway and a block to support our body, we're going to put the block behind us. Make sure you're not leaning, okay, so the feet are not forward of the body. I'm basically totally upright. I'm just backed up into my doorway. And this is on my pelvis, this is not in my lower back, okay? And we're gonna use, again, our doorway. I'm a little bit tiny, so I have to use the long length here. Okay, so there we go. That's it. Okay, so we're gonna be looking at our hip abduction portion of our car. So that means we've done our external rotate, hip flex, and abduct. Now, a couple things that I see happen are the toes lead, okay, ooh, hip cramp. So a lot of the things that I see are the toe leads, okay? Again, that's the external rotation of the knee, and we get this big booty lift. Having worked with people in the online membership, I've noticed that there is people dealing with a lot of SI or pelvic stuff, and it may not be because you're doing hip cars, but certainly you don't want your hip cars kind of aggravating it or setting it off or contributing to more SI unhappiness. So really, we want that thigh bone to rotate inside the socket and really keep this isolated. Also, your brain is going to map out where that truly is. Problem is, it's usually a lot lower than people like and much harder and super intense. Again, concentrated, but again, that's what you're here for. So we're gonna go into our hip abduction. All right, here we go. No, I have to use the long one. So we're gonna go into our hip abduction. We're gonna try to keep all 5 toes pointed towards the camera, even when we go into our hip internal rotation, and then we're gonna go into hip external rotation. This is much more pleasant sideline, so you could do it sideline, but then you'd have to keep your toes facing the same direction, can't be pointing, okay? You're gonna start by abducting, and now we're gonna keep our knee back as we internally rotate. So here, notice that's where our feet like to go, all right? Actually, they tend to be like this the whole time. You know, sometimes you're relying on previous experience, and a lot of us are very knee oriented in this position, possibly from like a dance background or something. So kind of got to erase that previous message and keep the toes forward on that internal rotation. Knee stays back and the external rotation. All right, now this helps eliminate the hips tilting because of the block. Whew. But that knee can still creep forward, so keep that knee open. Now, this is a lot lower, right? A lot lower than you might be using. I'm gonna go to the other side, and then we'll go back for a second round. Okay, nice and tall, abduct. And here we go, internally rotate, externally rotate. Oh my goodness. This is cruel. Internally rotate, externally rotate. Internally rotate, externally rotate. 3 more. Try for 6. Externally rotate, internally rotate. Make sure your knee isn't traveling forward. Internally rotate. Now your knee can go away from your ear, closer to the floor if it needs to. Okay? And back. So second thing I want you to think about, we've got our pelvis staying still, kind of doesn't have a choice. Otherwise, a block would be moving all over the place. We have our 5 toes facing towards the camera or across the room in both rotations. Third thing I want you to think about, Fourth thing, because you're also thinking about keeping the knee open, right? So you're staying in your abduction position. You're not letting the knee travel forward. It can go down, just not forward. Fourth and final thing you're gonna think about on this last round. So when you're bringing your knee back around, there's a tendency to start kind of coming forward, and we haven't really finished our rotation. We wanna get that knee, that foot under our knee, just like you would if you're doing a squat. I like to make these things relative to what we do. So you wouldn't squat like this, right? But also there's more abduction, external rotation. So you wanna max that out, like maybe aim to get the foot in front of the knee. Won't happen, but try. Right before then, maybe you start to lift and then you finish your hip car, okay? So that's the other thing we're thinking about. Pelvis, okay. Foot, all 5 toes facing cross. Abduct wall, okay? And there's a glass in front of us here. And bring that foot all the way under the knee. If you're using that image of a glass, that knee is barely resting on that glass, keeping you in abduction, and that foot has to come up to the glass as well in your external rotation, or try to break the glass with your foot. Okay, here we go. We're gonna abduct. Get this a little bit more. Abduct, and here we go. Internally rotate and externally rotate. Get that foot under. Internally rotate, externally rotate. Internally rotate, externally. If you do not feel your hip socket, lower that leg and try to focus on the rotation more. 2 more. Internally rotate and externally rotate. Last one. Internally rotate. Oh my gosh. Right there. That is why you concentrate on finding that, because who does not want to feel that part, posterior part of their hips capsule? That is going to be super powerful stability for you. Here we go. Hip flex, abduct. Yes, there's always one side that's easier. That's just the way we live. And past history. Internally rotate and externally rotate. But you should still intensely feel it. Oh, 4. Internally rotate. Externally rotate. Get that foot. Internally rotate and externally rotate. And shake it out. Oh yes, good. All right, so imagine if you hit that every day with your hip cars, how accurate that brain will be able to speak to that area of your hip / booty, but also you'll be able to strengthen and train that area because now you have access to it. All right, thanks for joining and see you next time.